Have you ever asked one of the world's most powerful AIs a really sensitive question and it just refuses to answer? Well, that's what we're digging into today. We're going to break down this really curious case of digital silence and uncover a fascinating inconsistency in Google's new AI search features, all based on some great reporting from The Verge. So, where does a story like this even begin? Well, it all starts with a single, pretty straightforward search. You know, the kind of question you'd think a super smart AI could handle, no problem. But the result wasn't an answer. It was just nothing. And that really gets us to the heart of the mystery here. Why would Google's advanced AI decide to go quiet on this one specific, very public topic when it's perfectly happy to talk about others that are almost identical? Okay, and here it is. This is the exact search query that kicked the whole thing off. The reporters asked about Trump, and Google's response wasn't a summary, it wasn't a helpful list of articles, it was just a digital wall. An AI overview is not available for this search. Right away, you know something's a little bit off. So you see that and you think, okay, maybe it's just a one-off glitch, right? A random system error? Or could it be part of a bigger pattern? Well, let's get into the investigation and see what happens when you start comparing these search results. Now this is where it gets really interesting. Take a look at this direct side-by-side comparison. The reporters ran the exact same search, just swapping Trump's name for Biden's. Now, at first glance, the result looks pretty similar. The main AI overview is blocked for both. But look closer at Google's AI mode. For Trump, you just get a plain old list of 10 web links. But for Biden, the AI actually writes up a summarized text response. That is a huge difference in how the system is behaving. So for the Biden search, the AI does exactly what you'd expect it to do. It gives you a careful, measured answer, pulling from different sources to give you some context. And honestly, that just makes the complete refusal to answer the Trump question even more strange.
So you might be thinking, okay, maybe it's a special rule just for the two oldest presidents ever. And, that's a totally fair guess. So the reporters at The Verge decided to broaden the test and ran the same query, but this time for former President Barack Obama.
And bam, this just blows the whole inconsistency wide open. For Obama, Google's AI gives a clear, direct, and summarized answer right in the main AI overview. There's no hesitation, no block, no simple list of links. It's a completely different way of handling a very, very similar question about another major public figure. All right, so we've clearly established the what. There is a real demonstrable inconsistency in how Google's AI is handling these sensitive questions. So now we have to ask the much bigger question, why? Let's dive into some of the possible reasons for these different results. So there are a few possibilities on the table here. You've got the technical side. Maybe Google is just really worried about the AI getting it wrong. I mean, these models are known to make stuff up sometimes, and this is a super high-stakes topic. But then there's the political angle. Maybe they're just worried about the backlash, and this is their clumsy attempt to look neutral by just shutting down certain results entirely. And let's be real, you absolutely cannot separate this from the wider political world we live in. Big tech companies are constantly under a microscope, especially when it comes to how they handle information about major political figures. Every single decision they make gets picked apart. And that kind of pressure, it's not just theoretical. It comes with a very real price tag. The Verge pointed out that Google recently paid out $24.5 million to settle a lawsuit about Trump's YouTube account. Yeah, a number like that can definitely make a company think twice about things. So with all of this laid out, what does Google actually have to say for itself? When The Verge asked them to explain this weird behavior, the response was, well, let's just take a look. So yeah, that's the official statement from a Google spokesperson. It's a classic non-answer answer, isn't it? It basically confirms something we already figured out, that the AI won't always give you a response. But it completely dodges the question of why there's such a difference between these specific, nearly identical searches. It explains absolutely nothing. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. Why should we even care about a quirky little inconsistency like this? Well, because it points to a much, much bigger shift in how all of us are about to get our information from now on. Look, here's the bottom line. These AIs, they aren't just search engines anymore. They're becoming editors. They're actively making choices about what we see, what we don't see, and how information gets summarized for us. This makes being truly neutral almost impossible, because sometimes an AI saying nothing at all can be just as powerful as what it says. And that's why it all comes down to transparency. If AI is going to be the new gatekeeper of information, we, the users, deserve to know the rules of the game.
And that's really the question I want to leave you with. When these incredibly powerful new AI tools decide to stay silent, are we just seeing a simple technical limitation, a bug that they'll get around to fixing? Or are we actually witnessing a deliberate choice, a new kind of gatekeeping that's been designed as a future? It's something we're all going to have to think about as AI becomes the new front door to pretty much all of the world's information.